Hi, Pasha. Thank you very much for joining this conversation. It was very nice meeting to you here in San Francisco last year, actually, for the
Yep.
for the batch of the Silicon Valley Fellowship. And then in the meantime, we did so many things. We were super active in the robotic space on one end, kind of doing hackathons, initiatives, student associations. On the other hand, also building, doing research and everything. So what's the current status now? What are you actually trying to maximize in this period?
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, a lot has happened. Back then, I started founding RoboTUM, the robotics club in Munich. It became really big, and now we are also building. So on top, currently in the making, Gen R, also called Ezra legally. It's the European Student Robotics Association. We're founding it with the ETH, EPFL, Polimi, École Paris, TU Delft, Eindhoven, Cambridge, many more robotics student clubs together. So I think the European spirit is also there, that we want to collaborate more. And yeah, that's what I'm currently working on as well. But as you already teased a little bit, student initiatives are really cool to work on, like doing hackathons, doing events, collaborating. But now I want to step also a little bit back and focus more on startups and ventures. Also, the reason why I joined in the past the Silicon Valley Fellowship, to gain more insights. And I think now afterwards, I also learned a lot during the journey, and I think I feel ready to start something.
No, nice. And what are you working on at the moment? Is there something specific that you can mention, or is still a little bit in stealth mode?
Yeah, I mean, everyone is working on general purpose robotics, robot learning, of course. Everyone has different bets, different approaches. Some work on more expensive hardware, some on less expensive hardware, different sensors, different types of robots. Some bet on humanoids, some only bet of arm manipulator. So it depends, right, where you go. So it's a big field, even though everyone is working similarly on the same topic, but has different approaches. Like humanoids have the top to bottom approach, I guess. Like they start with the humanoid robot, try to deploy and get the data or create some new robot. And our approach is bottom to top. We want to deploy something that can already be used by customers, and hopefully also then in the end achieve general purpose robots with the data we collect to train our own models.
Oh, and what's your why robotics in one sentence? Why do you think that robotic is gonna be huge? Because of course, here in Silicon Valley, but also around the world, people are bullish. But what do you think is the big argument that now is the right time? And also, what do you think is the best arguments against your why? What actually might go wrong, or what actually might delay things?
I mean, the most obvious part is AI that makes robots intelligent. I mean, intelligence will grow, hardware costs will go down. I think those two factors will create a big market for it. I think also you can already see that the old robotics industry is now changing. In the past, you hard-coded robots in structured environments, and now we're seeing the shifts also in research, that you don't need structured environment and you can start already with cheap robots to deploy them. So yeah, those are key factors. Of course, overall hype of humanoid robots is also pushing this, of course. But humanoids, I believe, they will still take a lot of time until they're going to be deployed. I mean, I think in the US, they're already working on regulations, but maybe in the end of 2028 or 2029, they have regulations for this. But then you can, like, in Europe, put plus 10 years until we got regulation and can deploy anything of humanoid robots. So until we achieve that, I think you should focus on solutions that can be deployed, like robot arms, like simpler robots to solve everyday tasks.
Nice. And I remember that during the batch, you were super passionate about robotics, that even all the other fellows were telling you every single time robotics,
Yeah.
robotics, or RoboTUM, or whatever. So what was the actual first project that made robotics feel real to you? And what do you think was something maybe unexpectedly hard? Because of course it's very interdisciplinary. So you have the control part, perception part, integration. So what was kind of your beginning, your initiation to robotics?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I start the story, it's always the same with like for programming, everyone will tell you, yeah, I started with video games and then I
Yeah,
programmed a
exactly.
little
Like
bit of
Elon
video
Musk and
games.
all the other people.
Yeah, starting with the same story. And in robotics, I feel like many of us in Germany had like Lego Mindstorms at school, informatics. So with Lego and some robotics coding, you got into it. And then maybe you start with some Raspberry Pis and Arduinos and have your first projects, IoT project at home. And then you build your foundations. Right. I don't think that there was like a big point. I think it was just a decision I made. So I don't want to go into game development. So where do I go to be like do something valuable or like create value for the world, being part of the future? I mean, in science fiction, robotics is always something that's pretty big. So I think that's the reason why I got into robotics. I want to be part of the future and create something meaningful for the world. Yeah.
And was there like a moment that you also realized that you wanted to lead and not to just build? Because I remember it was something that we talk quite a lot also here, that you kind of have passion and skills in both things, right? On one end, you're technical on like robotics, building, coding and everything. But on the other end, I mean, you co-founded several like student associations, you kind of like organize hackathons. So what was like the reason behind like pursuing those kind of like parallel paths, but also at the same time, I guess there were like maybe some trade-offs, maybe, I don't know, regarding sleep
Of course, there are
or
always
like
trade-offs.
grades, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, there are always trade-offs, but I feel like last year was the craziest year, I think, in my life, which changed a lot. I said yes to so many things, and I think it was also part of my strategy, to be honest. Like, I wanted to push myself to the limit, say yes to as many things as possible, and then find out what my limit is. And I think you can only do that if you do as much as possible, and then you go back down. So at least I know now what my limit is in working. So that's why I pursued like both paths. Also, like if you only do technical stuff, you find yourself struggling with explaining technical things to non-technical people. And I think it's very important to be able to do that. If you only do technical stuff, you have so much less chance to succeed in the startup world, I believe. I mean, most of the startups live or survive on like explain or presenting really good, explaining the tech really good and presenting it to the world to get accepted by the others or the others also understand the idea.
Yeah, and during this period that you met so many people, was there like some particular group of people or like maybe a lab, a community, like some professor that actually shaped you, that has been like kind of like fundamental on your way of thinking about robotics, about life, or like about what you focus on?
From a professor perspective, not really, I would say. I'm also not a really good student, so as you said, one of the trade-offs. But from the people's perspective, yeah, I mean, the startup world, people are super ambitious, and this pushes you as well to put more effort into things. Also, founding a club like a robotics club and meeting people that are obsessed in robotics will push you even harder. Like also, if you're unmotivated or like hardware is super hard and things always go wrong and sometimes you don't want to work on things anymore. But in the end, there's someone that is also still working on it or can help you. So those communities are very important to push, I think, your way into robotics more.
And like since those things are like very tough, like very difficult, how were you able to like maybe recruit but also like retain builders in like RoboTUM, like in this like robotics club? Because of course like people are very busy, right, with exams, internships, other projects. So how were we able like to kind of like build a culture that was actually very helpful to kind of like thrive on like those robotic projects and also
Mhm.
kind of like build the community, right? Because now it's quite a huge group. So how was like the recruitment and the kind of like the culture building over there?
So initiatives always lose a lot of members. There's no secret about it. It's also a super hard question. I don't have an answer to this because I'm still learning. I'm still in the process of learning this. Building a culture and community is super important for a student initiative. And as you said, people have their own stuff to do, need to study, need to work and have their own projects. But in the end, what connects them all is the topic. So, if I have different approaches to this. Like we designed RoboTUM in that way, like the activities that they need to bond and they need to work together at some point. Maybe it's like creating meetings that are between different software groups, software clusters, or between software and hardware people, between different teams to collaborate more. Pushing students with events or like deadlines is also a good thing to do. Like if they have a common goal, they will also work more on something. For example, when this semester, when I had a new team, I think they were onboarded by the end of October, or yeah, in October. And then we had a hackathon in November, like in 3, 4 weeks. And then I was like, yeah, guys, no time. Let's do it. And in the end, we managed. Of course, it was not the perfect thing, the perfect hackathon. It was stressful, but I still believe that this is the best way to make people bond and work together. Also important on the other side is that even if it's only an organization, people need to care about the other people. So what I always do is in the first 2 weeks, put more effort in bonding between the team members and building like relationships. If you don't do that in the beginning, the semester you can already throw away because people don't care about anything. They will just not come to the meetings. They will just not do their stuff because they don't have a relationship to the people they work with. So I think this is also the most important thing to do in the beginning of the semester, always.
Nice, very, very important. And you talk about like hackathons. What do you think that is very important about hackathons that maybe they teach you that the normal coursework doesn't? And also like maybe on the other hand, what could be like maybe some rewards that I mean are a bit dangerous that they work very well in hackathons, but maybe for like a real life, like building startups, is probably like not the same setting. Can be dangerous
Um,
for this long term.
Yes, I think it depends on the hackathon. Some hackathons only care about the pitching part and the business part, and some more on the tech part. Like if they don't, people normally in those hackathons sometimes don't even care about the tech and just see some slides. And I think
Yeah.
that's not the way to do it. You obviously want to build something on the tech side in a couple of hours, and that's very important. But you don't learn. I mean, it depends on what kind of hackathon. For example, robotics hackathons, when you work on hardware, you need to manage your time better. And if you just work on the software part, you can, I think, manage it better with the current state of technology. I mean, everyone is vibe coding nowadays. And I think you also in hackathons get used to new tools. So if you never used AI in the past, you should do it in a hackathon. That's the best environment to just have fun and test it out. You also learn from other people. Also in hackathons, you should find a team that is better than you, because then you learn the most and get most out of it. Don't be ashamed, because in the end, you won't see them again. Uh, if you're alone joining a hackathon, and the difference is probably yeah, like from university, you don't learn those tools that are currently out there.
And do you have like some examples of like maybe cool hackathons that you attended or like you organized that you also like recommend maybe to the audience? I remember there was like one that also other fellows attended, like Filippo, Leonardo. Maybe it was in Switzerland that you all met
Ah,
there.
yes, so it was the Swiss AI hack. I wasn't participating there. I was just there visiting some friends from the ETH Robotics Club. But like from the robotics perspective, every hackathon, if you're not into robotics, like the Le Robo hackathons are always really cool. If you want to learn more about how to fine-tune VLAs or go deeper into robot learning, that's always really cool. I mean, nowadays in Europe, there's so many hackathons. I don't know if it was always the case, to be honest. Maybe I just started getting into the bubble. But for example, in February, there is the Hack Europe, for example. And in March, we are planning a robotics hackathon at the ETH Robotics Club. I think also with OpenAI and some other robotics companies from their ecosystem. Yeah, I think you need just to follow people or follow the groups on LinkedIn, and then you will find those cool hackathons.
Nice. Yeah, I guess there is also like a lot of serendipity involved, right? That you get to know some people, and then you're like doing very cool projects with like those people that you met also quite randomly in those places. I think like another topic that it's important that you also touch a little bit is like maybe the difference between the ecosystems of Europe and like Silicon Valley. Of course, like you're based in Germany, right? But you also explore like here in Silicon Valley during the fellowship. You like visited some robotics lab at Stanford, like and other companies. So like, what do you think is like the main difference? And then also like maybe since you're also involved a little bit with like other countries, right? So you mentioned like with these like European robotics associations. What do you think that is like actually needed in Europe to kind of like be more and more competitive from like a startup point of view?
I mean, probably you've already seen the news, like EU Inc. If this is going to happen, this is huge for the startup world in Europe, right? If you have something similar to Delaware. So this is one thing that stopped probably builders to build here because the market is so fragmented. And for robotics, it's even worse because it's hardware and different certification. Let's not talk about this, but yeah. But the spirit is actually there in the younger generation. But I cannot tell you honestly the difference because maybe I'm also too much into a bubble currently and not seeing the whole overall picture. I mean, if you go to SF, if you're an outsider, you directly get the spirit. But if you go to Munich, you probably don't get it directly. But like if you're around the right people, then you will have the same spirit, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, of course, if you're in a SAF, even if you want to order a car, like you can get like a Waymo, like self-driving car, like maybe now there is like also the Tesla Robotaxi. So even from a tourist point of view, you kind of like get like this spirit of innovation and technology. Yeah, nice. And then like for the future, like how do you envision yourself now? You still have like maybe a few years, right, before graduating from TUM. So do you have like some I don't know, some plans about what you like to do, like continue with university, like doing grad school, or like maybe building your own startup, joining a tech company. Like,
Yeah.
what's are you envisioning?
Um, yeah, you're asking me currently in these times of crisis. I don't know. No, of course, I have a plan. Like, for the next couple of months, I will focus on my startup. So I will take a break from university first, to see, how, like, I have a strong founding team, and I believe we can work together to, make this big. Like, I mean, I'm studying computer science. I'm not sure if computer science will be still needed as or is like a valid degree in a couple of years. Maybe probably if you focus more on architecture and stuff, like programming itself won't be necessary. But overall understanding of software engineering will be still. I'm seeing more and more that there's so many other opportunities and ways to get involved into this area. But if you ask me, I would love to study then robotics, I think, not computer science. There's no robotics bachelor's here. That's really sad. I would love to study that, but maybe probably a master's in robotics would be an option. But let's see what the future will be holding. I think every month something is happening, so I cannot plan properly, to be honest.
Yeah. There's like so many things that are evolving super quickly. I mean, for sure, like robotics is gonna be a thing. Like, I don't think that like in a couple of years we like be able like to solve everything about robotics and everything. So he's actually someone as maybe let's say like 6 months or like a year and wants to become dangerous, like pretty good in robotics. Like, what's the curriculum? Like, what's something that you like recommend to do to kind of like acquire those skills and like those experiences to be like relevant in this field?
Diving more into, so everyone is doing now robot learning because it's an upcoming field. I think learning more about this field, AI in general, and different algorithms, RL, ML, and so on and so forth. Um, Definitely you need to have strength there, but never forget that the foundations are also important. Knowing how mechanics work, embedded systems, electrical engineering will be also still important. So it's a it's a big field, and I would suggest that you should just start with any project that interests you, because in the end, either way, you will learn one topic at some point if you want to go into robotics, because robotics is a combination of everything.
Nice. And maybe as a kind of like closing thing, like some resources about, I don't know, books, like blogs, papers, like podcasts that actually shaped you a lot on your view about robotics, but also like about the world, like something that you like recommend?
Good question. I mean, I read a lot of papers also from Pi, physical intelligence. Their papers and their foundation models. It's very
Like
interesting what
Chelsea
they're.
Finn from like the Stanford lab, right?
Yes, exactly. And also on Twitter, just follow some professors or some people that are in those fields and see what they're building. Yeah, many interesting papers coming around. Just on Twitter and LinkedIn, you will find a lot already.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Very cool. So yeah, all the best for like all your project, Pasha.
Thank you very
And
much.
yeah, let's keep updated.
Yeah, see you.